We dedicate this episode of Did You Hear to Baby Storytime. Stories read by babies? No. Baby Storytime is for babies. In today's episode, Ashley Fick, Diane Haner, and Amanda Wahlmeier visit with Dave Carson about our Refugees in Our Community event. Then, Meghan and Gregg recommend dark psychological fiction.
Welcome to another edition of the Did You Hear podcast, the official library podcast of the Johnson County Library, where we talk about what we recommend and also what's happening. And one event that we have is a follow-up event to In Memory of 6 Million. And this event is called Refugees in Our Community, and it takes place Tuesday, May the 7th, 6:30 to 8 p.m. at the Central Resource Library in the Carmack Community Room. And to talk about it, I have some guests.
Diane Haner, I'm an information specialist at the Corinth Library.
Ashley Fick, Civic Engagement Librarian.
I'm Amanda Wahlmeier. I'm the local history librarian.
So this is a follow-up event. How did this come to be?
So last year, at the end of In Memory of 6 Million, we invited Jewish Vocational Services to come and speak to the current refugee situation in the world and give a little bit more information. We really realized from that it could be a whole other program. People were really hungry for that information, that knowledge, to know more about refugees in the immediate Kansas City area as well.
So this is a way to relate the In Memory of 6 Million to our modern society. Obviously, Holocaust education is extremely important, and we highly encourage everyone to attend In Memory of 6 Million. And also then this Refugees in Our Community connects kind of similar problems and similar issues in our modern day society into things we are currently experiencing.
Interesting. So the In Memory of 6 Million event, we had a guest presenter. And what is in store for folks that are going to be attending this event, Refugees in Our Community?
So we'll have a guest presenter from KC for Refugees. They're going to give an overview of how somebody becomes a refugee, what that process then looks like. It's a multi-step process. And then what it's like for a brand new refugee in Kansas City. And hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll have a refugee speak as well to their personal experience and their personal story.
So why do you think this is an important topic for the library?
Well, we are just right now in the theme of breaking free, of all different kinds of breaking free. And part of being a refugee is breaking free from your old situation,
Sure.
having a chance at a new life. So it kind of fit in with that theme, as well as fitting in with the theme of In Memory of 6 Million.
And I would think that along with breaking free, it's stretching yourself and stepping out of what your comfort zone is and what you already know, and growing and learning some experiences and walking in the shoes of others.
I think maybe not everyone is aware that we do have refugees in Kansas City, so it's also a way to educate people about what's happening in their own, city.
And this is such a hot topic right now, and there's a lot of misinformation about there. And the library's role is really about getting current, correct information to the community, and this is one of the ways we can do that.
That's interesting. That leads into one of my questions that I had. What library resources would you recommend to increase your understanding that maybe people could read before they come to the event, or they could follow up with after the event?
You can always search our catalog for refugee stories. We have a lot of nonfiction books surrounding the refugee experience, not only in our own community, but just in America in general. There's also, if you're interested in more legalese type things, we have e-resources such as the Law Depot that you can look up kind of the regulations and rules and laws surrounding this issue.
So this is the very first time you're doing this event, right? What does success look like for you for this event?
Well, since it's the first one of this kind, it's hard to say. I mean, the Carmack room holds 150 people. I
or more.
Or more. It's really hard to say since we haven't had this before.
Sure.
With any library program, we're happy if anyone shows up and benefits from the information we have.
Absolutely. Well, once again, that is Refugees in Our Community, Tuesday, May the 7th, 6:30 to 8 p.m. at the Central Resource Library, Carmack Community Room. We hope to see you there.
What's Baby Storytime? Well, it's a lap-set story time of songs, rhymes, and movements for babies.
Introduce your little one to sounds and rhythms of the spoken word and give them a head start on language learning. It's designed for birth to 18 months and a caregiver. For locations, dates, and time, go to jocolibrary.org/events and click on Storytimes.
Thanks.
Shh! Welcome back to the Did You Hear podcast, the official podcast of the Johnson County Library. All the other podcasts about the Johnson County Library are fake.
Yes.
Fake podcasts, okay? This is the real one.
Be careful out there, kids.
This is the one where you get to know what's happening and, more importantly, or as importantly, what we recommend. And what we recommend today is dark psychological fiction. And to kick us off is Greg Windsor. Greg, you have a guest.
Hi, Dave. How's it going?
It's going well, but who's your guest?
I do have a guest. Miss Meghan, hello.
Hello.
Can you tell us who you are and what do you do at the library?
Yes, I am an information specialist here at the Central Resource Branch. I work on the Reader's Advisory Committee.
Yes.
So I do a little bit of that. I do a little bit of displays and lots of other good stuff here.
And can you tell me, since you are you work at the library and you're surrounded by all these books, tell me about something that you've really been excited, or shall I say, obsessed with recently?
So as an avid mystery reader, I am a big fan of the kind of the sociopath point of view.
Okay.
It's really taken off recently, become more popular since Gillian Flynn's Gone Girl, of course. And I think that, as with any trend like that, it can kind of saturate the genre.
Sure.
But I also think that at the same time, that is the time when authors really start to play with some of the tropes, and they can come up with some unexpected hits and some really unique characters. So a good example of that, and one of my current obsessions, is the TV show Killing Eve.
Yes, which recently began its second season. Right?
Yes.
Now this is through the BBC network.
Yep.
Tell us, what is it Killing Eve about?
So Killing Eve is about a sociopath, an assassin named Villanelle, and she basically travels the world killing people for a secret organization.
Okay.
That we're beginning to learn more about. She is tracked by an agent played by Sandra Oh,
who recently won awards for her performance. Yeah.
And what starts as kind of like this little cat and mouse game becomes a lot more personal, as both of these main characters kind of develop an obsession about each other.
Sure.
And they can't stop thinking about each other, and it's really driving them. So, and it kind of hits like a little bit of a cliffhanger at the end of season 1,
Sure.
and it's picked right up in season 2.
Okay.
It's
But
amazing.
so that interplay between kind of a normal person doing their job and this sociopath who is, doing international assassinations for this mysterious organization, but she still recognizes something in the Eve person that kind of draws them to each other.
They have similar characteristics, and I really feel like it's kind of pulling them together. They recognize something in each other.
Okay.
Yeah.
That also reminds me of another show, You, that was originally on Lifetime and then jumped to Netflix and became a phenomenon about a bookstore owner who became obsessed with one of the customers of a store, and he insinuates himself into her life, and he likewise is a sociopath, even though he's not an international assassin like the Killing Eve lady. Right. But he still has that quality of throwing aside all the rules to get what he wants out of life. Now, these are dark characters. What about them attracts people? Why do people make these shows and write these books that feature these types of characters? If I ever ran across somebody like that at the grocery store or at the gym, I would want absolutely nothing to do with them, but I love reading and watching them on TV. So what is it?
I think they're fascinating. There's something about certain traits that sociopaths or psychopaths have that I think people are almost drawn to. Not necessarily the lack of empathy or the lack of remorse, but the idea that they do things and they don't care about the consequences. They don't care what people think. And I think that kind of that's kind of alluring in a way.
Yeah, because
for
I
a lot
think-
of people.
Yeah, because we go throughout our lives and make 1,000 little tiny decisions a day.
We're
without-
constantly filtering ourselves.
Yeah, we're constantly filtering ourselves. We're constantly, do I take the last donut? Do I take the parking space when that older lady is wanting it to, and you don't even think about it, you do it. But then you have these characters who have no compunctions whatsoever.
guilt.
And that contrasts the rules that we all play by.
Yeah.
So-
I think that's a big draw. I myself, I'm kind of obsessed with the self-aware sociopath.
Okay.
And I feel like in Killing Eve, the character Villanelle, she has that. Like, she's aware that she's different. And I really love the scenes in the show where she knows she's not getting the reaction she's supposed to from the people around her. She knows she's doing something that might not be deemed normal, but she doesn't know why.
Yes.
So she keeps trying different things, different personas, different stories to try and get the reaction that she wants. And I love those little scenes, like the opening scene in the show where she's sitting in this ice cream shop and she's watching the people around her and how they interact with this little girl. And they're all smiling at one another and laughing. And you can tell that she has no idea why they're doing that. But she really wants to participate. She wants to get that same reaction.
Sure.
So she tries it. She smiles at the little girl and she gets that reaction. And you can tell that she's pleased, like she learned how to manipulate the situation. And then she walks out and dumps the ice cream in the little girl's
All over
lap.
the little girl.
Yes.
No.
It's like the perfect character intro.
That tells you a lot about that character right there. So you say the show takes you inside the mind of this type of person. Are there any books or other media out there that kind of give you that same experience?
Yes. So the show Killing Eve is actually based on a series of books
Yes.
by the author Luke Jennings. So those are really good, and those are a good idea to check those out, especially if you're all caught up on the show and you want more.
Sure.
But one book that I just recently finished, and I just loved, it's called Jane Doe, and it's by Victoria Helen Stone. And it brings you into the mind of a sociopath. The main character, Jane, has been diagnosed with antisocial personality disorder. She identifies as a sociopath, but she's not a killer. So instead, some of the traits that make her a sociopath also make her really successful in the financial industry. That lack of remorse, that no empathy.
Kind of a riff on the Bret Easton Ellis's American Psycho.
Yes. And so she's really good at what she does. She's made a lot of money. She doesn't have a lot of people that she's close to or that she can connect with in her life, but she does have one friend from college. And for whatever reason, they had a connection, kind of like in Killing Eve.
Like
those
the
two
Eve
characters.
and Villanelle.
Yeah,
they
have
understand
that
each other
connection.
on that level.
Yes. And so this has been her good friend throughout her life. And her friend recently committed suicide. And so Jane goes on this single-minded quest to take down the man she sees as responsible for her friend's death.
Sure.
And she goes undercover, and she uses her ability to read people really well to get close to this guy. And what I really like is the book does an excellent job of showing you just how different life is for this character, how she doesn't respond to the world in the same way. But it also, what I really love about it is that this guy is very manipulative. He's really the worst of the worst, but all of the ways that he tries to bring her down or crush her spirit, they don't work on her.
Sure.
Because she's a sociopath. She doesn't respond
rules
that
don't
way.
apply.
Right.
Yeah.
And so little does he know that she's actually the one manipulating him.
Yeah.
And he doesn't see it until
That's
very-
fascinating.
yeah,
That was called
very
Jane
end.
Doe. Who's the author on that one?
Victoria Helen Stone.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
I was talking a little bit earlier about You, the show, that was also based on a book by Carolyn Kepnes, which is a fabulous book. A book that's kind of along those same lines is called Our Kind of Cruelty by Araminta Hall. It is a great book about a male, point of view of the male who's a sociopath, and he's in a relationship with a female, and they play these games where, she will go out in a public space and flirt with another man, and then the main character will kind of barge in, right? And kind of it's all this little game that they play. But she eventually grows tired of it, dumps him, and moves on, leaving him behind. But he still thinks they're playing, that this is just another level in their game. And he can't quite get the signals that most kind of couples or most people in regular life can understand.
Right. He does not grasp
He doesn't
them.
get it. He just thinks it's just another level, so he keeps pursuing her, and the tension really mounts as he's desperate in his own mind that he's doing the right thing. He thinks that that she wants him, and he just needs to find the right combination of things to do to make things go back the way he wants them, and he just doesn't get it. And it's just such an enthralling, twisted relationship thriller that people would like. Can you tell me about another book that you might like along those lines?
Yeah, actually, it is a young adult book, believe it or not, but it's still really, really dark. So probably for a little bit older teens. But it's I Hunt Killers by Barry Liga.
Yeah.
And it is about a teenage boy named Jazz who actually, his father was a serial killer. And he's known this from a young age. But beyond that, his father not only let him know that he was a serial killer, but he also started training him to become one.
Wow.
Yes. So Jazz has had this training since he was a young child. He has been constantly worried that not only is it in his genes, but he's been trained to be a psychopath. Obviously, as he's questioning it, you can tell he has a certain level of empathy. So you know that he's not a straight sociopath.
He's aware of some level.
Yeah, but he's aware of it, but he also has these impulses.
Sure.
Because it's just been, brainwashed almost.
Yes, shades of Dexter.
Very
another
much
show
so.
that got based from a book series
Exactly.
and move on to. Apparently, Hollywood needs to invest more in looking for books written about serial killers and make into movies and TV shows. Another one that came out. Have you read My Sister, the Serial Killer?
Not yet. Oh, it's on my list.
Yeah, the author's name is Braithwaite, and it takes place in Nigeria, where these two kind of sisters, one who's the older sister who's a kind of a responsible nurse, and the younger one who's more beautiful and more flighty, and she kind of burns through boyfriends, and sadly they sometimes end up dead. But she has a responsibility. The older one has a responsibility for kind of taking care of the younger one, and to kind of clean up the messes the younger one makes. And so the older one has a crush of this doctor at her work, but the younger one starts responding to that and trying to compete for the attentions of this doctor.
Sure.
So that caretaking part of the older sister looking after the younger is kind of inverted when the sociopathic tendencies goes after a different target. It's really, really well done, and it's a lot. It's very, very, and it's kind of told from that different point of view. That really enthralling, that just sucks you in as a reader.
Love it.
Would you say that one of the tricks in writing something successful in this genre is to somehow, I mean, these are horrible people.
Yes.
But you still find some sort of way to relate to them. Like you empathize. And so I think about a series like Breaking Bad. You've got Walter White, or the spin-off, Better Call Saul. And,
Sure.
In both cases, they do horrible things.
Yes.
They're despicable people. But you also really like them, so and ultimately you can't cheer for their, ultimate success because they are horrible people.
You kind of feel bad, but it's still compelling. I mean, these are still human stories, and even through the darker tones of like a Breaking Bad or a You still kind of feel for these characters that are still human, even though there are kind of twisted and kind of bent on the inside.
Yeah.
And so I still think a good writer. It's easy for I think for a bad writer to kind of say, oh, sociopaths, serial killers, I can just do what I want. But a good writer will tease out that struggle, that internal struggle that they have, that even most of us can connect with.
And show like some of the things that we have in common, because a lot of times they want what we all want.
They want love. They want acceptance.
Yes, and they want, a good job. They want to be successful. It's just how they get there is a lot more twisted than what some of us, might accomplish.
Also, very few happy endings with these types of stories.
Very, very few.
Shocking.
Yeah, don't look for happy endings here.
Absolutely.
So in our catalog, do you have a list of books that are in this genre or audiobooks? Or?
I believe we have a couple lists on psychological thrillers, but the point of view of the sociopaths is actually one that I am currently working on.
Excellent.
Okay,
yes.
So coming soon.
Yes, coming soon.
If you go if you search on the catalog, I recently did one read likes for the Netflix series You about called "You're My Obsession," about kind of stalkers and obsessives. So definitely check out those in the catalog as well.
And that's what we recommend is all about. We like to have smart, intelligent, articulate librarians come and tell us what they're reading. So thank you so much.
Even when it's about horrible serial killers.
Horrible, horrible people.
Yeah. Thank you, Dave.
Thank you.
For more episodes of Did You Hear, go to the Johnson County Library website, jocolibrary.org/didyouhear.